becoming successful at local fundraising. And when I talk about local fundraising in this context, we are looking at number one, your community where you are. Number two, your region and your country. So how is it you can be able to pool resources in your community and in your country towards supporting your cause? So I hope by the end of it, you'll be able to understand fundraising and local resource mobilization in your organization, which is the discussion we're having right now. And then after that, I'll be introducing our speaker shortly, and he'll take us through how to start a successful local fundraising, giving his own experiences of how he's been able to do that. And then he's going to share with us some of the sources of funds for local fundraising in your community. And then we'll finalize looking at the opportunities, challenges, and the benefits of local fundraising. And so just like I've shared, local fundraising in this context is being able to mobilize the local resources around you. And while financial really forms a big portion of the kind of resources we need, we're going to look holistically at the different resources. So it can be either in-kind donations, so you are engaging in building, or you're engaging in healthcare, and you're able to get in-kind donation from the community members, from the community leaders, from the church. Someone mentioned the EABL of Uganda, so the organizations and the companies around you. But also it could be in terms of volunteer time, you have an immunization campaign, so you get volunteers to go around the village or the estate or your town to be able to volunteer their time. Or even right now, as we are looking to align our organizations, you're saying you're getting a volunteer to help you with your fundraising efforts. You're getting a volunteer to help you with your online presence. You're getting a volunteer to help you with your accounting systems. So we're just going to look at how is it we're going to locally fundraise and locally mobilize resources and look at the different stakeholders that are involved in the same.
My name is Bonface Inganga, and currently I work for Hongera Foundation Kenya as the head of secretariat. I'm in charge of all day-to-day operations of the foundation. I will do a short presentation on local fundraising and resource mobilization, and especially on the strategies for success. Why local fundraising? Why does local fundraising matter? Local fundraising matters because of some 5 key areas that I could figure out. One, on sustainability. Local fundraising ensures that we can be able to continue as an organization, we can be able to continue beyond international funding. A number of NGOs depend on international funding. And how about if the international funding stops for whatever reason? Then it means you'd stop. But then that's not a good story. You need to be able to continue beyond relying on international funding. So the number one key why you need to be very good at local fundraising is because it ensures sustainability. The other area why local fundraising matters is because it gives you a community ownership. It gives you ownership of your local organization. It increases local engagement and responsibility. The other part is that it creates empowerment. It builds local capacity and promotes self-reliance. When you are reliant on yourself, you are reliant on your own local capacity, it gives you empowerment. You feel you're much stronger. It also gives cultural relevance. When you do local fundraising, you have an aspect of cultural relevance. It aligns your projects with the local values. The values that you have that are particular to Uganda, that are particular to Rwanda, that are particular to Kenya, for example. So cultural local fundraising ensures cultural relevance. It also adds on diversification of funds. We cannot rely on international funding alone. There are different sources of funds, and local fundraising is just one of them. So when you have that, then it reduces financial dependency on a single source. So these three main fundraising projects that we've been able to do as a foundation, their success stories, I'll explain them later on how we have been able to, how we've been able to make them successful, or the strategies that we have employed to make them successful. Again, here I'll share our success story of Hongera Foundation Kenya. We managed to achieve a high participation rate of the charity golf tournament when we reached out to the local MPs. Again, a strategy that makes this possible is when you do, depending on what you do, depending on the mandate of your foundation or the mandate of your NGO or your local organization, whatever you do, ensure that you link that to the local leadership. Ensure that your local leadership are aware of what you do. That way, when you have a local fundraising, when you have a fundraising event, you can easily reach out to them and tell them, hey, we have done this ABCD in your local community. Now, this time around, we are doing activity X to raise funds. Please help us. This approach enables project engagement. It increases project engagement, and eventually you have success rates. The number one strategy to increase community ownership through this approach is to, and I had somebody mention in your introductions, is being persistent. These leaders or these partners that you want to approach in your local fundraising, remember, they're not employees of your organization. They don't have the same vision as you have. They don't have the same time that you are impacting, that you are devoting to your organization as them. So if you don't have persistence, if you don't push them more and more, trust me, they will not participate. Ensure you give cards. Ensure you give, develop your own business cards. Give out, print as many as you can. Ensure that you give them. When you have a project, reach out to them. The trick here is to make sure that you are visible. Yeah, visibility in their network. Let me touch a bit on empowerment. Empowering communities by leveraging on local resources. Yeah, ensure that you empower yourself using the local available resources. When you use local available resources, it increases empowerment. Again, the other aspect of why local fundraising is that it creates cultural relevance. This aligns with the local customs and practices. You cannot start, or you cannot organize a local fundraising activity that does not align with the local customs and practices. Ensure that the activity that you want to develop, the activity that you want to use to raise funds, has alignment, has relevance to people's customs. For instance, the activities that I cannot do in Kenya and and I expect success. They may be done maybe in Europe. If, for instance, if I organize a skating competition, how many of us even here knows how to skate? So if you're organizing a fundraising activity, so make sure you align with what people already know. What are the tips to ensure your project respects and integrate with the local cultures? Some of the tips that you need to know that your project respects and integrates local cultures. Check the trends in the in your social media. Check the kind of the school activities that are employed, because schools tend to use examples of activities that are relevant to the communities. Check what kind of activities schools engage in. Most activities and sports activities that Kenyan, for example, engaging are football, and so you can have a football tournament. The other aspect that integrates with the local culture is running, and that's why we have a Hongera Fun Run. And another activity, I'm not sure if Feed One, Feed All relates with eating, and eating is not a cultural event, though we do it to primarily just to feed the local community. Other than that, we have what we do, and it's been very successful, is on the golf tournament. While not many Kenyans or other Africans embrace golf, golf as an activity seems to attract people of wealthier people. Like wealthier people tend to play golf. So as a strategy, we have partnered with a number of golf courses in Kenya, and they allow us to organize our activities pro bono in their golfs. So we don't pay for those tournaments. We only pay for food, for the meals, but for the pitch we don't pay. So every now and then when we approach people to come play, we approach different organizations, we approach individuals to come play. We just ask them for a small amount, now knowing that they're not going to, we are not paying for the pitch. We are only paying for their meals, and then whatever remains, we get. Other than that, we also ask them, we have different packages that we sell to them. The highest package goes up to 1 million. And we have 2 concert organizations that have been buying the top package for the last 4 years. So just to give you a case in point, is that last year, our golf tournament, we are able to raise 8 million. So in a year, out of just local fundraising alone, let me get a total of this. In a year, the golf tournament, we are able to raise 8 million, fun run 4 million, feed one, feed all 2 million. So this makes 14 million. So as a foundation, we target 10 million every year for local, as a result of local fundraising. How do you start? So in the next few minutes, let's share some steps to initiate local fundraising efforts. You need to identify potential sources within your community. And just a tip of what we have done for us is that we have strategically identified the rich to help the poor. Our foundation helps the poor, but we target high-class individuals to support the local community. So if you do an event like Feed One, Feed All, you're not likely to get the politicians come in. You're not likely to get company CEOs to come in. You're not likely to get very top-notch people to come in. So when you organize a classy event, of course you'll spend. I know someone may ask how much we spent on charity golf tournament. We spent around 300,000 in the planning of it, but you can see at the end of the day it pays back. So you need to identify potential resources within your community. You need to build initial relationships and trust with the local stakeholders. You make sure you are very, very, very persistent. You must be in people's minds all the time. That way you are able to realize some results. Okay. How do you identify those potential sources? Number one, engage with local philanthropists and local community members. This could be individual donors. So here I'm referring to individuals. Engage with them individually. And you need to have your language also needs to be very eloquent. You need to be somebody who is nice to approach, easy to approach. You need to be somebody who can, talk to people, request time, be very polite. That way you attract private or individual donors. Okay. Local businesses, seek sponsorship and partnerships. Another potential source is the local, is the community events. Host several events. This would be another source. Religious and social organizations are also another sources. I heard somebody talk about church. Religious and social organizations is also another one. Mosques, clubs, different clubs are also very good sources of funds. Government grants. The Kenyan government, I don't know about other countries like Uganda, Rwanda, and any other, but the Kenyan government have grants that support NGOs. And I want you to look at the one act. There's an act of parliament, it's still new. It's about 2 weeks old. 1 month old. Please look at Public Benefit Organization Act. It has all the details of government grants and how to reach and how to access such grants. Good. Now that we have talked about identifying potential resources and how to get started, let us also learn how to build relationships. How do you build relationships once you get those potential sources? It's important to network with local events. Create events that enable you to network even more. If possible, get some training on communication strategies on how to articulate your mission and impact. You must have stories. Let your organization have short clips of stories here and there of the things that you have done, and know how to communicate some of these impacts in when you're doing networking and when you're in local events or even international events. The number one is to have a timeline for your fundraising. You cannot start a fundraising program without a timeline. So for this case, in scenario, you could give it something like 1 year or 10 months. That within the 10 months, you should be able to have raised your 5 million. Yeah. So number one thing, write the project goal. And the project goal in this case is to raise 5 million shillings to construct a 3-classroom block in Western Kenya. Number two is to write the period or the timeline. The timeline here could be 10 months or 12 months, but not more than 1 year. Try to have all your fundraising activities not going more than 1 year, simply because you need to be having a running financial year, so that when the other year comes, then you have other things to do. So have your fundraising programs and activities to run, to be catered for within 1 year. Then number 3 is to come up with fundraising strategies and activities. Most of what you have talked about are strategies, but you have not clearly highlighted the activities in them. So strategies are areas, people, sources that you're going to approach for funding. Based on our case study in question, the first areas to reach out to is the community. Remember, this classroom will be owned by community. You need to ask yourself, at the end of the day, who is going to benefit most from the activity that you are carrying out? Then whoever is going to benefit most are the people to approach first. So in this case, this is going to be a community school. And the community then needs to be approached first. And you can give them a target of 1 million. Don't go too much in the community. Give them a target of 1 million. Then activities that you can do on the community contributions are things like door-to-door campaigns. Have volunteers that can go from door to door. Tell them we want to raise this. We want to build 3 classrooms. Please raise this amount. Okay, they can come in through material contribution. They can, you can have parents who can come up with, they just say, for me, cut these 2 trees for me. I'll contribute 2 trees. For me, I think I can bring 2 bags of cement. For me, I can bring 2 stones. For me, I can, prepare bricks for maybe 1,000 or 2,000 bricks. Engage community. Yeah. You can also host fundraising events in cultural nights, sports tournaments, and even just to create awareness amongst the community. Number 2, you can approach corporate sponsorship, and this is where you can target. This is where you can target can be your cash cow. Yeah. Again, something that you need to know in marketing is to develop a matrix. Yeah, a source of fund matrix. For those who have done marketing as a course, you will know this. Yeah, so you have a section that you can call a cash cow. So in this case, corporate sponsorship becomes your cash cow. Target the most from here. And I think most of you have alluded to this. Target most corporate sponsorship from here. Approach Coca-Cola, approach Safaricom Foundation, approach KCB, approach cooperative banks, write proposals to them, organize meetings with those business leaders. Usually those companies, those corporate sponsors have a budget for CSR. Make sure that you are listed in their CSR, and make sure that even the corporate sponsors that you are approaching, their missions and visions align with what you want to achieve. Otherwise, they will not support you. Approach organizations that are supporting local organizations, and most of them support education, in our case particularly. Yeah, and when you approach them with approach them professionally. Do proposals and let them know, this is what I want from you. Please help us. Number 3 area to also look at is to write grants. And grants here, remember, we are talking about local fundraising. Grants does not necessarily mean it has to come from abroad. No. Write grants to other NGOs the other NGOs that support activities in Kenya. Yeah, write grants, apply for grants from the government. That's still local. Yeah, you can target around 1.5 million from there. Do follow-ups, write grants applications. If you don't have expertise there, look for people who have the expertise to do that. Approach, make sure you get funds from, get grants from other foundations. Number 4 area is to do crowdfunding. Crowdfunding can be done, and I heard somebody talk about online. That's a very good source. That's a very good strategy to use. Create an online campaign. Use LinkedIn, use Facebook, use whatever social media, through social media promotion. Utilize all the social media channels to promote your campaign. Usually for people, and remember this, remember to share progress and engage the people, especially the online, on the online platform. Give feedback, engage and give progress that this is so far what has been done. And of course, the other, you can decide to do it professionally using email marketing, like, the other professional ways of doing it. But I'm just talking about talking about this, assuming that you are a local foundation and you still don't have much, a lot of budget. School partnerships, and I heard somebody talk about alumni. That was very good. Engage the school in form of partnership. Ask the school how much they can contribute from the for that, because the schools also get some little amount from the government. Ask them how much of that money they can chip in. Then engage alumni of that school, okay, and friends of that school. So there's alumni and friends. There could be a community that lives around that school, but their children would not necessarily go to that school. Those ones can be classified as friends of the school. Still approach them and sell them a package that you'd love them to contribute. Then one important thing all of you missed is monitoring and evaluation. Do monthly review meetings, assess progress and adjust strategies, and relocate resources as needed. Then you do financial tracking. Keep detailed records of all funds raised and expenditure. Then finally, do a progress report. Regular update to stakeholders is very important. Make sure you update sponsors, make sure you update your donors on progress and impact. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be my presentation for today. The most important thing in local fundraising, number 1, make sure you are persistent. Number 2, you must have a website, and make sure your website has pictures and has stories of impact. Impact stories, people saying how your organization has impacted them. People giving stories, giving real-time stories of how your organization has impacted them. Make sure you have such on your website. Create a documentary of what you've been able to do from the time you have started to date. Documentaries also help to sell you out, okay? For those who find it hard to engage with politicians and all that, make sure you are on their faces. When there's any event that you know politicians are there, go. Make sure you seek audience, do some presentation. After that, ask for contacts. Just make sure you ask for contacts. When you ask for somebody's contacts, after 3 days, make sure you have reached out to them. Write them an email or send them a text message. If they don't reply, do follow-ups. Hi, how are you? I sent you this message. Did you see? This is what we're doing. Make sure you are on people's minds and faces all the time. Thank you so very much. I give it back to Sofina. If there's any question and answers, maybe I can take after that.